for more than 3 minutes knows that I'm not politically correct. I don't mince my words. Generally speaking, somebody is always offended after I give a talk. Like, I'm very, very, very bad at this. And so there's this misperception that when speakers give a talk, it's because this is something that they're good at. I'm going to challenge that. Speakers, when they give a talk, it's usually about something that they're not good at, and they're trying to figure it out as they're preparing for the talk. So even if that's not what everybody else does, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to self-disclose, okay? This is maybe my biggest challenge in life right here, is speaking the truth in love, okay? So this is a learning point together. Everyone's going to learn together, okay? And I'm open to suggestions, please. It's been a long time, and I still haven't been able to do it. So for me, this is a constant battle, especially because of, I want to give myself an excuse, how I'm wired, it's my personality. There really is no excuse, but it is difficult for somebody like me. Generally, the reason this is so problematic for me is because I could very easily avoid troublesome situations if I were able to just master this. Unnecessary conflict, avoidable tension with others. I used to say that I'm just the kind of person that conflict is attracted to. Like, it's not my fault, it's my personality. That is a cop-out. Just, you guys can call me out on it anytime. That is a cop-out. Everybody has a choice, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but there is no person that conflict is just naturally attached to or attracted to, okay? So, what is the issue? The issue of speaking the truth in love always boils down to my favorite topic in the entire world, which is relationships. If anybody's coming to Relationship Goals on Tuesday, this is my blatant plug for Relationship Goals on Tuesdays. Our last session is June 11th, so make sure you're coming if you haven't come already. So relationships, which is the reason why I'm so passionate about these services, like goals, for me and for most people, have the biggest effect on your quality of life. So relationships can make your day or they can break your day. And I'm not talking about relationships, guy-girl relationships. I'm talking about everything. Friendships, relationships with your parents, relationships with the opposite sex, relationships with the people that you serve with, relationships with your colleagues. Relationships essentially dominate our life. It's the undercurrent of everything that we do. You go to work, in order to be successful, you have to have good relationships with your colleagues or your clients, depending on what you do, or your patients, depending on what you do. You go home, you need to have a good relationship with your family in order for you to be happy. You go out, you need to have good relationships with your friends. You're in a relationship with a guy or a girl, that needs to be going well in order for you to be happy. And when it's not going well, it is a huge stressor on anybody. They make or break you. They can build your day, they can break your day, and they have the ability to control, or I don't want to say control, but they have the largest effect on your happiness. I just want to caveat here, the largest effect on your happiness, not your joy. Okay, joy and happiness are very, very different. I'm sure later on in the future we're going to have OnRoute series about joy, but they have the biggest effect on your happiness, which is very, very different. Joy is not in your control, happiness is. So, let's talk about the issue now. So we've established that relationships have the single most effect on your happiness, and they can bring you up or they can tear you down depending on what's going on in your life. So what do you do when things are going bad? Like, what do you do with conflict? This is everybody's, red flag, is when there's conflict, there must be something wrong. But the reality is that if you're in a relationship with somebody, and like I said, it's not limited to guys and girls, friends, parents, family members, whoever, conflict is inevitable if you care. If this is a relationship that's important to you, conflict is inevitable. Nobody is going to get along 100% of the time. Nobody is going to agree 100% of the time. You could be the biggest doormat in the world, and somebody will find a way to rub you the wrong way. You could be the biggest doormat in the world, and you are just taking. Everybody has a breaking point. Everybody does. So if you are at all invested, even a little bit, in a relationship, whoever it may be with, conflict is inevitable. So the question now is, how do we navigate conflict? Because if it's inevitable in every relationship, you better believe that being able to navigate conflict is the best way to invest in your relationships. So how do we navigate that? Unfortunately, the word conflict has a very negative connotation, right? Whenever you hear that, it sounds like it's something bad, or it sounds like it's something that's to be avoided, or something that you need to shy away from. That's not actually true. That's not actually true. And the reason I know that this is not actually true is because if conflict was really that bad, would Christ have been in conflict? Like, don't take me as an example, okay? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. like I'm confrontational, people hate me, whatever, that's fine, okay? Let's look to our actual example, which is Christ. If conflict was so bad, would Christ have ever been in conflict? Like, he's supposed to be our example. He's perfection, right? He was in conflict, though. Like, if you look in this verse here, he went into the synagogue and he taught, and they were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, not as scribes. So he walked in, okay, Joe Schmo, nobody has any idea who he is, and he walked in guns blazing, knowing that he's going to provoke them. He walked in provoking them. Immediately and instantaneously prompted conflict. Why did he do that? He didn't have to go in on the Sabbath. He didn't have to do something that he knew would prompt conflict. He didn't have to go in guns blazing. He could have gone in with a softer message. He could have gone in on Monday. Why not Monday? He could have gone in and not really like flip tables, essentially. He could have gone in with a softer message. But he went in the face of conflict. Again, now it happened that he went through the grain fields on the Sabbath, and as they went, his disciples began to pluck the heads of grain. And the Pharisees said to him, "Look, why do they do what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" This, he's looking for a fight. He's looking for a fight. He's looking for somebody to point out what he's doing wrong because he's looking for a fight. He's looking for conflict. So is conflict inherently bad? I don't think so. I don't think it is, because if it were, he wouldn't be looking for it. He wouldn't be chasing after it. So is it inherently bad? No. I think. Because conflict can be very productive. Conflict can lead to a stronger place than where you started. And that's the first lesson that we're going to talk about in terms of speaking the truth in love, is conflict is not to be avoided, it's to be utilized. You can take conflict in any situation and you can come out stronger and you can come out better and your relationship can come out stronger and better. 100%. So conflict in and of itself is not what's bad. It's the way you respond to the conflict. It's how you deal with it. It's what you do about it. It's what you say about it that can be bad. But is having a conflict with somebody in and of itself bad? No. Like all the time, I'm on the goals hype right now because we're in the middle of a series. So that's why this is on my mind. So, but don't take my examples as solely for relationships between guys and girls. But all the time after goals, people come up to me and they ask me all these questions as if I know what I'm talking about, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. They tell me, I'm in a relationship and I'm not really sure, God is leading us, or I'm not sure if God is in this and whatever. And I have a red flag. We fight a lot. Do you think we should break up? That's not enough for me. Usually I have to tell them, do you have an hour to sit and chat? Because fighting a lot means nothing to me. It means nothing. Fighting can be a good thing. What are you fighting about? How are you fighting? How are your conflicts resolved? How's your communication after it? What happens after the fight? Are you better or are you worse? Do the fights last 6 years? Do you give each other the silent treatment? Are you rude? Tell me more. Fighting means nothing. Because fighting, to me, I take it as we're having conflict. Okay, great. That neither adds nor takes away from your relationship. Because conflict in and of itself is not bad. It's what happens through the conflict and after the conflict. Okay, so let's remove that negative connotation to the word conflict. Okay? Now, when it comes to conflict, there are usually two general categories of people. Don't get offended, okay? These are general categories and they're spectrums. Both of them are spectrums, okay? So you can fall anywhere on the spectrum, okay? The first is mercy. People who are very merciful, and we call them pillows, okay? This is my husband in a nutshell right here, okay? Why can't we all just get along? Let's hug it out. Everybody's best friends. The world is made of lollipops and butterflies, and we like to skip through fields and just be happy and joyful all day. This is my husband, okay? My husband doesn't fight with anybody. My husband is so nice. He's so forgiving. It is very, very hard for you to find somebody who has ever been mad at my husband. My husband is a pillow. He's a big pillow, okay? And then there's people like me that are called swords. Rightly so, okay? Because when you talk to us, it's like a slap in the face, okay? That's me. And we're the people that are no filter. If you don't like what I'm saying, well, too bad. And I'm just going to speak the truth, and that's the primary goal. And if you can't handle it, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's me, okay? The people that are just obnoxious, okay? And like, no matter what the message is, I'm just going to say it. I don't care how it makes you feel. And if you can't handle it, too bad, okay? Ask me how I ended up with my husband. I'm not really sure, okay? This is like, so, okay, I probably shouldn't have put that there because that's not nice. But every time somebody comes to me and says, hey, can we talk? I always preface with, that's fine, but if you're an idiot, I'm going to tell you, okay? And if you don't want to hear it, then go talk to Rami, because he'll tell you that you're lovely. But if you're being stupid, I will tell you, okay? Like, that's, in a nutshell, is the swords, okay? The people who couldn't possibly care less about how what they're saying makes you feel. Now, disclaimer, I'm working on it. I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. Will I ever become a pillow? No, I will never become a pillow. I may become like less of a sharp sword. I'll probably always be a sword, okay? But I'm working on it, okay? So I'm not saying that either approach is correct. Actually, what I'm saying is that both approaches are wrong, both of them, okay? So let's first point all the wrong things in my husband, okay? With the pillows, usually nothing ever gets resolved. Usually your conflicts are unproductive because you just want to smooth it over, okay? Like, you don't need to talk it out and get to the crux of the issue because you just want everyone to be happy. You know, you just want to hug it out. And nothing ever gets dealt with. Nothing ever gets like reconciled because just give me a hug. You know? It's not productive, okay? And then, whoops. Sorry, where am I going? Cool. That's my husband, okay? Now, the problem with me, everybody hates you. You have no friends because you're rude and you offend people and nobody wants to be around somebody who offends them. Nobody wants to be in conversation with somebody who calls them an idiot repeatedly. Like, I just went out with somebody like 2 weeks ago, and the entire time that we're talking, I looked at him and I'm just like, I would have punched you in the face if that was me. Like, if you were talking to me, I want to punch you. I want to punch you in the face right now, and you're telling me about it after the fact. Nobody wants to be around somebody who wants to punch them in the face. Like, you have no friends. Everybody hates you because you're rude. Like, your conflicts are not productive, not because nothing gets resolved, but because they're explosive. Because you yell at people and you make them feel bad. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about myself. Okay, like, and for me, and this is entirely accurate for me. A lot of the times, conflicts become the end of the relationship. Like, before I learned about all this kind of stuff, like, those who know me, like, I'm not into feelings and stuff like that. Like, this kind of, like, emotional, like, delving is new for me. Like, I'm not very good at this kind of stuff. But before I started all this stuff, I used to disclaimer to my husband, like, oh, yeah, when I close a chapter, it's closed. That's it. I never look back. And I used to talk about it like it was such a good thing, right? You have no friends. You close the chapter, you don't look back, and you have no friends. Like, that's not the way to deal with anything. That's not the way that you're supposed to, as an adult, as a functioning adult, deal with conflict. Just smack the door closed and find a new group of friends. Like, that's not the way life works. If you can't navigate through conflict, either because you just want to hug everybody, you don't want to talk about it, or because you just want to kill everybody, you're never going to get anywhere in life. And that's why conflict has a negative connotation. Because either nothing gets resolved, or it's the end of that relationship because you're brutal to be around. I'm taking a little bit of a harsher stance on the swords because I'm a sword, right? So I feel like I can make fun of myself. But if you're a sword, it's not that bad. I'm sure people don't hate you as much. Like, it's fine. But like me, I'm talking about me, okay? So, what is the answer, okay? Both approaches are wrong. Both of them, okay? I am equally wrong as a pillow. My husband is equally wrong as somebody who's harsher around the edges like me. Don't be satisfied with two wrong answers. Don't be satisfied. Find the third alternative, okay? As I try to be nicer and less harsh and deliver a message that's like less condemning, okay? My husband tries to stop favoring, people's feelings over what needs to happen. Like, there is a medium, and you can find the medium. It doesn't come naturally to most people. Some people it does. It doesn't come naturally to most people, and it's an effort. But what part of delving into your spirituality is not effort? Like, what part of delving into spirituality is not work and not being refined? This is being refined right here. But is it possible? Yeah, it's absolutely possible. Mercy and truth have met together. Right there. He said it. Okay? speaking the truth in love, may grow up in all things in him who is the head, Christ. Like, it is possible. It's hard. I haven't figured it out yet, okay? It's hard, but is it possible? Yeah. So don't settle for two wrong answers. Like, don't pick two stupid perspectives. Like, strive for the right one, and the right one is none of the above. Pick the right one. This is me talking to myself right here, okay? Time, especially in the first part of our marriage, not about me and my husband, like when I'd be fighting with somebody else and he's trying to like mellow me out and things like that, okay? I would always say, they left me no choice. Like, what did you expect me to do when they said, blah? Or what did you expect me to say when they said, blah? Or how did you expect me to react? Not like that. Like, you always have a choice. You always have the ability to control your response. Sure, you're surrounded by the dumbest people in the universe. Sure. You're surrounded by monkeys. Perfect. Okay? The people around you are agonizingly ridiculous. Sure. But you always have dominion over the way you respond. Always. No matter who you are. You're an impulsive person, you're a patient person, you're whatever. You always have the ability to control how you respond. I'm talking to myself, okay? So, they left me no choice? False. That's your cop-out. That's your excuse, that they left you no choice. That's my excuse. Because you always have a choice. You always have the ability to take a step back. You always have the ability to not react. Or even if you reacted, you always have the ability to come back and say, you know what? I spoke too soon. I'm sorry. Let me just take that back and think about it. You always have the ability to do that. It's your call. Nobody is removing your choice from you. Nobody's stupidity takes your own decisions away from you. And nobody's stupidity takes your own control away from you. That is yours and yours alone. Do not pin that blame on anybody else because that control is yours and yours alone. So this left me no choice. This is a cop-out, okay? Everybody, no matter who you are, has somebody who drives them insane. My husband, there's one person in the entire universe who mildly annoys him. Even Rami has that person. Even Rami. Rami is like the most patient, like can never, ever, ever be mad and has only positive, glowy things to say about everybody in the universe. And even Rami has one person. She's just one, but just one. But he has her, okay? And it's like, some people, it's like, oh, the person who constantly needs to be affirmed, that's mine. Or the person who is constantly negative about everything, that's also mine. Or the person who likes to remind you of all the things that they have that you want, also mine. It doesn't take much to annoy me, just so you know, okay? Everybody has that person. And depending on your personality, depending on your life circumstance, depending on your situation, that person can take many forms, and that's fine. But everybody has that person. So it's not an if there's somebody who bothers you, if there's somebody who annoys you, if there's somebody who says something you don't like, everybody has it, okay? I don't care who you are. My husband is the best person I know, and even he has it, therefore everybody has it, okay? It is never out of your control how you respond. And what I have learned through marriage and other things is that conflict is never solely on one side, no matter what. And every time I've had this conversation with somebody, they're like, oh yeah? Well, what about this situation where this guy cheated on this girl and Sure, okay? I challenge you. I have never heard of a conflict where the blame can be 100% on one side. Sure, the guy's a scumbag and he cheated, whatever. Dig deeper into the relationship and see what happened before that. Okay? I'm not saying it's the girl's fault. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying dig deeper and see if they were all happy and butterflies and skipping through fields together before that happened. There is never a conflict that is 100% on one side. Because everybody is responsible for their reactions. Even if you were wronged, the way you respond to being wrong is your accountability and your responsibility in that conflict. That conflict is not reconciled and you are not hands-free because you responded negatively to being wronged. You are still a part of that conflict. So there is no conflict that is 100% on one person's side. Where am I? I don't need to give an example. I was going to give an example that makes me look even more brutal. That's fine. I'm sure you guys got it. Okay? So, number one, conflict is not to be avoided, it's to be utilized. And number 2, find the third alternative. Don't settle for being too nice or too brutal. Find the other way around. How? It's so easy for me to be like, just find the third alternative. Bye, see you guys later. Today's my daughter's birthday, I have to go. How? What does that mean? Like, I am a sword inherently, okay? I'm harsh and I'm brutal. How do I mellow out? How do I figure out how to navigate conflict when my first reaction is to just pounce on the person in front of me and point out all the reasons why they're stupid? How? The first step, I'm not good at this, is identifying critical conversations, okay? You have to be able to see when a conversation is starting to go in a direction that makes it become critical, okay? Like, it's starting to take a turn and it's about to go somewhere that's gonna make this a big deal, okay? Unfortunately, those turns that the conversation takes usually are emotional turns, okay? So you're just whatever, talking, whatever, and then somebody says something that strikes a chord with you. Maybe they know it's a sore spot, maybe they don't, whatever, and all of a sudden, bam, that conversation becomes critical, okay? And you're like, well, like, and the people who are good at this, at that point, are able to identify that this is now changing from a surface level conversation to something that can be more, okay? That ability to identify where the conversation is going is very difficult. Usually because you're at your dumbest when you emotionally respond to something. Seriously, no, like I'm not being a sword, okay? Seriously, when you emotionally respond to something, you have a fight or flight reaction, okay? The majority of your like cognitive ability and your blood is shunted to your extremities so that you can fight or flight away from your brain. You're literally dumber when you're emotionally responding to something. And so the ability to identify that a conversation has turned critical is something that requires training, okay? Can it be done? It can, okay? Athletes, why do they practice so hard? Why do they push themselves so hard? Why do they do the same thing over and over and over and repeatedly? And why do they run the same plays over and over and over and over and over? Because when they're in the heat of the moment and the adrenaline is rushing and it's been shunted away from their brain, they want to be able to react out of habit, not because they're thinking. Because they're stupid. When you're emotionally responding, you're dumber. Sorry. This is a little bit, I'm tired. My son was up every hour last night. I'm sorry. I'll try to pillow it out a little bit, okay? So the ability to take a step back when a conversation is going in that direction is so incredibly important, okay? So incredibly important. I'll give you an example, okay? I think it was maybe, again, all my examples are relationship examples just because I'm on the relationship high goal. The relationship goal is high right now, but if you ask me in like a month from now, I'm sure my examples will be just normal examples. My husband and I had been dating, I want to say this was like maybe the 5th date, 6th date, something like that. So like, you know, we're kind of thinking we're going to keep going. Like I haven't committed to anything yet. Like we're not sure, like whatever, okay? We go to a movie. I love movies. I love the escapism of a movie, especially when I'm stressed out, okay? And I have like a system. Like I always sit in the same general vicinity in the theater and like I always have the same like movie snacks. Like I'm very like ritualistic about my movies because like I love them, okay? And they don't happen very often right now because my kids are not sleeping. So we go and I'm so excited about this movie, whatever. And then we go to order the popcorn and I'm like, okay, I have a way that I order the popcorn, okay? What I like them to do is put a little bit and then butter, and then a little bit, and then butter. Like I like to have it layered, okay? Because if you just put butter on top, then you just get past the first layer, and then it's like you didn't do anything, okay? Yes, I know it's unhealthy, and that's fine, whatever, okay? In my youth, when my metabolism was better, okay? So we go, and I'm standing there, and I'm ordering the butter, the way I like it, okay? And Rami says to me, easy there, fatso. See, do you see all the girls are just like, I'm sorry, what? And you married him? I did. Okay, I'll tell you why after, okay? And I just step back like this. It's literally like date 5. I'm happy to just walk out the door tomorrow. I'm not invested in anything, okay? I'm definitely not gonna date a guy who's calling me fat. You don't use the F word, ever, 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 okay? With a girl. Boys, if you didn't know that, okay? I'm so glad I told you this before you get into a relationship. Don't ever, ever use the F word. She could be 60 pounds total. Don't ever use the F word, okay? So I just, like this, and I'm just like, And Rami's just, continuing in his conversation. You want to get a drink too? Not seeing that that's it. He's lost me, okay? And, okay, I feel embarrassed telling you how I responded. I'm going to do it anyways. But I'm so, so intense back then, okay? So I didn't say anything. And I just packed up my wallet and my purse. And I walked out, and I walked to my car, and I left. I didn't say anything. I just left. And poor Rami's like, what just happened? What just happened? Okay? Neither of us had the ability to identify that this conversation took a very critical turn. Very critical. Okay? And he didn't notice until I was like halfway home. Okay? That this conversation took a very critical turn. If I had the ability to do that, obviously I wouldn't have walked out. In my mind, I walked out, never gonna see this guy again. See you later. Okay? Not down. And he was like, who is this crazy person? Like, what just happened? Okay? Like, in his mind, because Rami's such a nice guy, he's like, oh, he called me. He's like, did you get a phone call? Is there an emergency? Did something happen? Like, just completely oblivious. Okay? Just giving me the benefit of the doubt that I'm not insane. Okay? Neither of us had the ability to identify that this conversation turned critical. That this became something. That this became something that was no longer surface level. And we both responded. Like, I mean, haram for him, like, he's completely oblivious, okay? But for me, this became something critical, and we didn't have the ability to just take a step back for a second, okay? That ability to identify before it comes to a head is hugely important. I would say it's the most important part of mastering the ability to speaking the truth in love, especially for people like me who are impulsive and who just react and who just pack up their stuff and walk right out the door. Okay, I was young, okay? So, identify critical conversations, okay? Yes. No. He called me and I screened it and he texted me. Are you okay? Is everything okay? Is there an emergency? I'm just like, the emergency is that you need to, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Oh, yeah, we talked about it after, yeah. We're married. Okay. I came back, I swear. I'll get to it later. But yes, we did eventually have a conversation, et cetera, and we're much better at that. I don't walk out of the house now. Like, that was a one-time thing. But we did eventually get there. But no, did I answer his phone calls? Absolutely not. I was brutal. Absolutely not. Okay, so we talked about, where am I? Conflict is not to be avoided, okay? Find the third alternative, so don't settle for being a pillow or a sword, and identify critical conversations, okay? So what happens after you identified? Who cares? Great. I can identify that now this is going in a bad direction. Now what? Okay? Here is the crux of the issue. Evaluate your true motive. Okay? Once you identify that the conversation is going critical, you got to figure out why is it critical. Okay? Why is this taking a very emotional turn? Like, why am I responding the way I am? Okay? I'm running out of time, so I'm just gonna move a little bit faster. Okay? So let's take the example. I have all these examples up here, whatever, who cares? Okay, let's take the example that I just gave, because that's everybody's favorite, that I just walked out on Rami, okay? Why did I respond so quickly when he said that? Is it because I had just gained 10 pounds and I was insecure about it? Possibly, okay? Is it because I'm a girl and you obviously don't say that to a girl ever? Maybe. Do I have some deep-rooted damage from my childhood? Maybe, okay? But the point is, you gotta figure it out. You gotta figure it out before you respond, okay? So the right thing for me to do would have been to take a step back before I walked out, okay? After he had already paid for the movie, okay? Actually, I paid. I paid for myself and he paid for him. That was a whole other issue. I didn't let him pay for a long time. We'll talk about this in goals. Come to goals, okay? The right thing for me to do would have been to take a step back and figure out, why did I respond so badly to that? Why is this so offensive to me? Why is this something that instantaneously seems unforgivable? Why? Where's that coming from? Okay? What does that mean? Okay? You have to be able to look in yourself first. And the reason you have to be able to look in yourself first is because right when you have an emotional response, the facts and your perspective of the facts, that line gets blurred. right away. It's like an instantaneous thing. And you start to tell yourself the reason why things are happening, okay? So, like, if we use that example, I mean, I didn't give it this much thought at the time, but, like, let's use it as the example right now. So Rami says, easy there, fatso, or whatever, okay? I take a step back. Why am I responding so quickly? In the absence of doing that, on my drive home, okay, I'm hyping myself up in my head. Oh, this guy thinks I'm fat. Why are you dating me then if I'm fat? If I'm so unattractive, why are you dating me then? Go find yourself a nice size -10 then. What do you want? Like, that's what's happening. Because I've now told myself that in Rami dropping that comment, he doesn't find me attractive. He doesn't want to be in this relationship. He's now just with me for whatever, something superficial. And I've now told myself this narrative. When in reality, okay, Rami calls his best friend fatso, and that's their term of endearment. Do I understand it to this day? I do not. And do I think that that poor man maybe has some body image issues? Maybe, okay? But that's what he does. Like, it's very surface level for them, and it's somehow a term of endearment. Okay? But I already told myself, and I already villainized Rami for this. I already decided that he's this and he's that, and he thinks this and he thinks that and he thinks that, because I wasn't able to A, take a step back and identify that this conversation is going in a bad direction, and B, figure out why I'm responding so poorly. And in the moment, I would have been like, why do I have to figure it out in myself? I'm the person that was wrong. He called me fat, okay? Not the other way around. It doesn't matter. You can't err like on the side of the victim or the villain, because then you lay blame without figuring, and what we've established is that there is no conflict that is 100% blame on one side. That doesn't exist. So you can't take that approach of, well, he to me and she and I'm the and they wronged me and why do I have to no, okay? Because you have to figure out where you are. And in that conflict, was I wrong for walking out? I was wrong for walking out. And we were dating like in a time where like you have to be very DL about it. You can't tell anybody that you're dating, and everybody only finds out that you're together when you get engaged, and like these like silly things, right? So we're out at a movie somewhere far away because we have to go away from Egyptians where Egyptians can't see us, okay? Like we were in like Pickering or something. I live in Woodbridge. And he lives in Mississauga, okay? So I literally drove from Pickering to Woodbridge. If anybody's geographically like challenged, that's like 40 minutes, okay? Like the right thing for me to do would have been to take this step back before I walked out. The second I walked out, I decided where the blame was. I decided how the conflict was going to go. Did I respond wrongly? Yes. Was I to blame in part in that conflict? Yes, I was. Even though I was wronged. He called me fat, okay? It doesn't matter. I responded poorly. You have to be able to be introspective, okay? You have to be able to self-evaluate before you respond. This is what I love about my husband, okay? We have a fight, okay? I am a sword. I'm sure you can imagine how that goes and who's doing most of the talking, okay? Rami gets very quiet, very quiet. In the beginning, it used to drive me insane. Like, I just want someone to just like battle it out, like may the best man win kind of thing, okay? When we first got married. And Rami just kind of retreats into himself and doesn't respond. And like, it takes like a lot of like nudging for me to get something out of him. And you know why he gets quiet? Which I learned as I matured. Because he does this, okay? Rami is very good at being able to take a step back from a situation. Very good at it. And he just sits there and he like processes it for a little bit. Even if it's not a conflict, it's like a stressor or whatever, he just like retreats into himself and he processes it, and then he comes back with like pearls. And he just like throws them at you, and you're so mad because you're so irrationally mad and you want him to be wrong in so many ways. But he's not, because he just took a step back and he comes back with like, you know, half explanation, half apology, half compromise, half solution, and you're like, no, like, I just want to fight. I want to be that person, okay? I want to be the person who's able to do that, who's able to just take a step back and like figure it out. And like, so for example, my son, I mentioned my son is getting up every hour. He's a very bad sleeper because he was born very early. He was born 3 months early, okay? So in the hospital, when he was first born, it was very stressful, and oh my goodness, he's on machines and breathing machines and tubes and whatever and all this thing. It was very stressful, okay? Everybody's coming to see us in the hospital, and the waiting room is packed, and family this, and friends here, and the abunas, and everybody's around, okay? Where's Rami? Everybody keeps asking me, where's Rami, okay? Rami literally, there's like 30 people in the waiting room. Rami literally left the 30 people and was sitting like in a room, like in the corner by himself, like 20 feet down from these people. And everyone's like, Sarah, where's Rami? Where's Rami? Hey, your support system. No, no, no. He's figuring it out. 20 minutes, he comes back and he's like, okay, babe, listen, this is what I think we should do. We need to ask this question. And he comes back with like a plan. And he comes back, he's level-headed, he's not emotional, he's not like just losing his bananas, as opposed to me, I'm running around like a chicken with no head, okay? Because he's able to do this. He's able to take a step back, and he is very introspective. He's able to ask himself, why am I reacting the way I'm reacting? What am I afraid of? What am I worried about? What's the worst case scenario that I'm thinking about right now? What is it? He's able to figure that out and articulate it and then address it for what it is. He's very good at that. I am not. Okay? So what we have so far is conflict is not to be avoided, it's to be utilized. Find the third alternative. Don't settle for being a pillow or a sword. Identify the critical conversations before you react. And then evaluate your true motive. Why are you responding with the magnitude that you're responding? What's happening inside? Okay, so let's go back to the same example that we've been using. The Rami calling me fat example, okay? I'll explain later. We're still married. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to that example, okay? Rami says, whatever, I'm walking out my car. Fast forward, took me 2 days maybe to answer his phone calls again. Wrong response. I'm telling you it was the wrong response. I was young, okay? Fast forward to the point at which I started to answer his phone calls again, okay? Now what? The conversation has turned critical. I'm ready to cut ties, okay? He has no idea what's happening, okay? He's retreated into himself. He's tried to figure it out, whatever. And now we need to talk about it, okay? Now what? This is maybe the second hardest part. I would say the first hardest part is identifying when the conversation is turning critical, okay? This is the second hardest part. Being able to stick to your objective. Okay? And not getting sidetracked by the emotions that are coming at you left, right, and center. Okay? So from Rami's perspective, okay, Rami walks into this conversation and Rami wants to tell me, I did not mean this offensively. I meant it as a term of endearment because I call my best friend Fatso and I love him to death and he's been my best friend for 50 years. Okay? 50. He's not 50. I'm being mean. He's not 50. Okay? That's his objective. Okay? And that's what he's trying to stick to. Okay? And then from every direction, I'm like, well, you think I'm fat, and you don't think I'm attractive, and why are you dating me anyways? And I'm just like railing at him with emotions left, right, and center. And a lot of them are unfair, okay? I never said that I don't think you're attractive. If I didn't want to date you, why would I be here? Like, all these things that he wants to respond to, and things that are unfair, okay? But you got to set an objective, and you got to stick to it. Because if you don't, okay, you get sidetracked and you get muddied in these irrational emotions that are going everywhere, okay? So, for example, okay, when we first had Millie, my second kid, okay, and Rami was working, whatever, Rami's hours before we had kids were longer than his hours are now, okay? Much longer, okay? And with Millie, I was like, I didn't know what I had because Toby's a whole other ball game of tough kid, but okay, first time mom, whatever, I'm just I'm drowning and I don't know what I'm doing and I need help and I can't do this by myself and emotions, postpartum, I can make whatever excuses for myself, okay? So we were trying to figure out, how do we deal with Rami's hours? Because it was fine when you were working late and it was just the two of us, but now there's a baby who you're not going to see because you're getting home after she's asleep, right? So what are we going to do? I want to have this conversation with Rami, okay? I know that work is important to him. I know that Millie is important to him, okay? But my objective is I want to ask him what the compromise is without making him feel like he's neglecting Millie. Because I don't want him to misinterpret in our conversation that I think he's a negligent dad. Okay, that's my objective, and that is what's gonna frame my approach. As opposed to walking in, like in the middle of a conflict, you're always late. What did you never even see her? That's not gonna accomplish my objective. Okay? That's gonna make him feel like I think he's a bad father, which he's not. Okay? But taking a step back and figuring out exactly what I want to convey to him and sticking to that objective gives me much better odds for navigating this conflict. Right? And like the point here is that it has to be purposeful. Okay? Like you can't just walk into a critical conversation and like flip tables and just like wing it. I'm just gonna see how this conversation goes. No. Okay? Like all relationships, not just guy-girl relationships, parents, friends, colleagues, your boss, you're quitting your job and this is gonna be a critical conversation, whatever, okay? You can't walk in and wing it. You need to walk in with a clear objective, and the objective has to be around what message you want to convey to the person without emotions interfering, okay? That first. Because when you stick to that objective, then that frames your delivery, okay? Like, and a lot of the times when, I'm gonna ignore that second example because that conversation did not go well. I don't know why I put that example in, okay? But like when you frame your approach with the objectives, it's almost like you start to like disclaimer. So like for example, the conversation with Rami about coming home early, okay? I know you love Millie, okay? And I know that you want to spend as much time as you can with her. I know you do, okay? And I know that given the option, you would favor being with her over being at work. I know. And I know that it sucks for you that I get to spend all day with her and you don't. I know, okay? Because I want to make sure that he doesn't misunderstand that I think he's a negligent dad. Okay? Flip the situation. You're putting too much butter on your popcorn. Okay? He wants to tell me, I don't want you to die of heart disease. Babe, I don't think you're fat. Okay? I think you look wonderful. But I don't want you to have a heart attack. He wants to prevent me from misunderstanding that I think he thinks I'm fat. It frames your approach when you are able to set a clear objective to what in this conversation you want conveyed. The difficulty or the challenge is being purposeful about it, okay? Not just reacting. It has to be purposeful. And what I'm learning is that concept of purposeful comes about in everything. It's in relationships, it's in your work, it's in parenting, it's in everything. This idea of having to do everything purposefully. Not winging it and not just on the fly. What you want is to have no regrets about how you conducted the conversation. To not have to come away from a conversation and say, yeah, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. Or that's not what I meant, that came out wrong. And you have a higher likelihood of accomplishing that if you set a clear objective before you walk in, okay? Before you emotionally react. This is no, it's not the hardest one. What's the hardest one? I don't know. The hardest one is identifying the critical conversations, for sure, okay? But controlling your emotions is also hard, especially if you're like me, okay? Or if you're like David. Or if you're like somebody who's very like impulsive. Like my best friend is married to somebody who it's really hard to get a reaction out of him, okay? Like he's very stone-faced. So for him, it's not as hard to control his emotions as it would be for me, okay? Similar to Rami, okay? I live like here, like when I'm high, I'm really high and I'm excited, and when I'm mad, I'm really mad, okay? And like when I'm upset, I'm really upset, but when I'm excited, I'm like your number one fan, okay? Rami lives like here, okay? Like there's little highs and lows, but they're not very high. So for somebody like Rami, it's easier to control his emotions than it is for somebody like me, because they're much higher and much lower than his baseline, okay? However, there is great utility in being able to do that, okay? And I'll tell you why, okay? This is like a very, very poor depiction of what happens in an emotional response to a conflict, okay? So something happens that you observe, okay? Rami called me fat, okay? That's what happened, okay? The story that I tell myself is Rami called me fat because he thinks I'm fat and I'm unattractive and he doesn't want to date me. That's the story I told myself. That's not what happened. Okay? That's my narrative. Okay? That story that I tell myself leads to my reaction, which is, see ya. Cut ties, okay? So that leads to my feeling of hurt, which then leads to my action of see you later, okay? If I can just get in between observation and story, I fix the whole problem, right? Like, if I can just intervene in that one step, I fix the problem. But the reason that I couldn't intervene is because I couldn't control my emotions, okay? I couldn't control, like, the emotional response. So there is great utility in being able to just take a step back, don't react, and figure out what's going on. Great utility in that, okay? An example that we get all the time. And what I want to tell you here is a big part of not responding emotionally is making sure that you're not telling yourself a narrative that's not based in facts, okay? All the time. So my husband is a twin. For anybody who knows this, my husband is an identical twin, okay? All the time, Rami gets people who come to him and they're very upset with him. Because I saw you 3 days ago and you didn't say hi to me. And I tried to say hi to you and you didn't say hi to me. And I'm really mad at you. Okay? The narrative that person told themselves is, Rami's a jerk. Because I tried to say hi to him and he wouldn't say hi to me. Okay? The reality is that Rami's a twin. And you probably said hi to Tamer. And Tamer has no idea who you are. And that happens all the time. But like, it's that piece of, this is the observation, and then this is the narrative that I'm telling myself. This is what I'm explaining to my own head as what happened. That's where you need to intervene. In that step is being able to, like, get in there and prevent yourself from telling the story that, like, fuels your emotions, and the story that's not based on fact, okay? Like, the example that I had put up there, so my best friend one time forgot my birthday and my sister one time forgot my birthday, okay? I'm 100% more harsh on my sister, okay? So my sister forgot my birthday. What a jerk. That's it. Just see what happens when she comes around. It's because she's busy with what she's engaged now. She's busy with her fiance and blah, blah, and she doesn't care, and blah, she's just so into her own world, blah, 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 okay? My best friend forgot my birthday. Oh, man, she must be having a stressful time with her husband. I hope everything's okay. Why did I give Mary a break and I didn't give my sister a break? Because I'm telling myself my own narrative. Monica actually had a lot of things going on and she actually didn't forget. Like, I didn't get the message, okay? But I told it's the same situation, exactly the same, different years, and I told myself a different story each time. That's the, like, the gray area, is what story you tell yourself, and it'll never be objective when you're responding emotionally. It will never be objective. So you need to be able to catch yourself at that step. Whatever. So, yes. Yes. Sorry? So that's a loaded question because it takes in isolation something that should be considered in totality. Do you know what I mean? Like, so in the larger picture of an abusive relationship, then you have to ask about what's the appropriate response. But you have to, like, the assumption when we're talking about conflict is that this is a conflict that you want resolved, right? Like, if I'm in an abusive relationship and I walk out, like, I'm going to take the opportunity to walk out because I want to leave, right? But the assumption is that walking out is the wrong response because you want to resolve the conflict. You want to move through it as opposed to wanting to get away from somebody who's abusive. Do you know what I mean? Like, so with Rami, like, walking out was wrong because we ended up married. Like, there was potential there. Like, he said this and he didn't mean it, and, like, he's been much more educated about how to speak to women since then, okay? But, like, it's not that, like, this was a relationship that I was trying to get away from, and therefore, like, I took my opportunity to walk out. Do you know what I mean? So it's the assumption when we talk about this conflict resolution is that this is something that is worthwhile pushing through. If it's not worthwhile, then walk yourself out, for sure. If it calls you fat, out the door, okay? Like, not just if he calls you fat, like if this is an abusive relationship. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. Okay. So, and I'm running out of time. No, I'm out of time. So just really quickly, last point, okay? When you're trying to get in between the observation and the telling yourself the story part, okay? A few quick and easy steps, not easy, just quick, okay? Retrace your steps. What just happened? And in this step, ask yourself, what happened? What are the facts? Okay? What are the facts? Okay? He called me fatso. He thinks I'm fat is not a fact. Okay? He called me fatso is a fact, but he thinks I'm fat is not a fact. That's my own narrative. Okay? Focus on the facts. Be as objective as you possibly can. Okay? And then why? Why is this bothering me? Okay? I love when people come into the hospital and they walk in and they say, it hurts. What hurts? Everything. Okay? Don't just say, he hurt my feelings. It means nothing. Why did he hurt your feelings? What part of you is responding to this? What about what he said is hurting your feelings? Why is it hurting you? How did it make you feel? Let me disclaimer with the fact that these conversations are very difficult for me, okay? I don't like to talk about my feelings. I don't like to do this. I hate this, okay? I hate feelings, okay? However, do I acknowledge the necessity of it? I do. Do I acknowledge that being able to do this well will set you up for success in your relationships? I do. So don't be general. Be very specific. What about this is hurtful? What about your core is responding to this emotionally and why? Be specific, okay? What did you tell yourself that is causing this emotional response? And like I said, try and stay away from who's the victim and who's the villain, okay? Who's at fault and who was wronged. This is very, very destructive thinking because you will never be able to resolve a conflict with somebody if you walk in and say, it's your fault and I'm expecting an apology. That's not how it works, even if it is the person's fault, okay? So try and stay away from victim and villain as much as you can. Again, stick to the facts, okay? And now retell the story using facts, okay? And what you know and love about this person. I know Rami likes me. Why would he have asked me out if he didn't? Okay? I know Rami thinks I'm fabulous because he chased me for X amount of time. I know that if he wasn't attracted to me, he wouldn't have chased me. So what is the narrative in the story? And then if you have a gap, ask the other person. Okay? It only came out that this is his term of endearment with his best friend when we eventually got around to talking about it. So don't fill in your own gaps. Use the other person to fill the gaps in when you've been able to take a step back. Okay? Sorry, I'm over time. So conflict is not to be avoided. Find the third alternative. Identify critical conversations. Evaluate your motive. Set a clear objective and control your emotions. Sorry, I'm way over time. That's all I have. Any questions? Okay, I will defer to the leader.
Hello, how are you guys? I wanted to come and say hi. Oh boy. Thank you, Sarah. Big hand for Sarah. Sarah always bails me out all the time. I'm like, I'll call her like a couple days before. Sarah, what are you doing on Sunday? At least it's not like a couple hours before. So I wanted to say hi. I miss you guys. I know I haven't been at OnRoute for a while, but hopefully, God willing, next week I'll be back, God willing. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful time. You guys are excited about the Raptors as much as I am. Like, I didn't think I would be excited about basketball, but now that I live in Toronto, you got to be excited for basketball. All right? Enjoy the weather, and hopefully we'll see you next week. I don't think there's any other announcements other than if you're not on the mailing list, please see Verena. God willing, we're going to try and come up with a plan for OnRoute, maybe a couple of outings, like on Sunday afternoons or something. We'd like to get the group together outside of this setting a little bit more often. So hopefully we'll get together over the summer. If you guys have any ideas, also you could see Verena, or you could email onroute@smsv.ca. If you have any ideas, anything that you want to do this summer that we could do together as a group, that would be great. So just just email us, and then we'll figure something out. God bless you guys. Enjoy this weather. Did you guys pray already? I don't know. Okay, we'll conclude with a prayer. Here's when we pray. Thankfully, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Another thing, too, is just for the type of topics that you guys want to hear here at OnRoute, please come and see me or give me a paper or send me a text or send me an email